is, everyone? I hope you all continue to be healthy. I hope you all continue to be well. So yesterday I took an online Facebook art class that was really cool and really inspiring, and for me something that was so needed. And I thought a lot about you guys during that art class. I thought about how many of you that I know that are so creative. I thought about how many of you I know that don't have access to Facebook right now. Maybe Facebook isn't your thing. Maybe you're using the school Chromebooks right now. So this is something that really made me think of you guys. And like I said, for me it was so needed. It was just such a nice break from everything going on, and it reminded me how therapeutic art can be. And of course art takes many different forms, not just painting, not just drawing. So if painting's not your thing, maybe music, maybe playing music, maybe dance, maybe building, working with wood, maybe acting. But I think right now, in these times, it's incredibly important to do those kind of things because they offer us such a respite, such a break. And for me, it just completely transformed my day. So I thought that I would get on, and for those of you who don't have access to Facebook, by the way, the woman who did the online art class, her name is Jade Reynolds. She did a phenomenal job. I believe she's an art teacher at Indian River, so she's got a lot of experience. But for those of you who I'm sure some of you actually probably even saw that Facebook Live. But for those of you who didn't, for those of you who don't have access to it, I thought I would share with you a little bit of what I learned from that class. And so yesterday, this is the particular art piece Jade had us working on. It's a cherry blossom tree. And like I said, for me, this was so needed. I actually did a second one in a different color scheme. And so this is what I'm going to be showing you guys how to do today. This one in particular, because I am running a little bit low on white paint, and so we're all right now doing the best with what we have, and this is my way of doing the best with what I have. And that's the great thing about art, is that you don't have to, there aren't necessarily rules to follow. You can do things your own way. You can let your personality really shine through. So this is the one I'm going to be doing today, except I'm going to try, instead of these red and purple and blue leaves, I'm going to try green leaves to see how that looks with the yellow and the black. But if this is more your style, and if, unlike me, you have white paint to spare, go ahead and you can try this one. And so the color schemes here are, of course, black, dark gray, light gray, some red, some pink, and some white. But this is the one I'm going to be doing today, the one I'm going to be sharing with you. And so I, unfortunately, do not have an easel, so I'm going to try to kind of make do. I'm going to try to do the painting like this. We'll see how that works. But these are the paintbrushes that I have. Of course, use whatever you have. Make do with whatever you have. Jade, in this particular painting, she used Q-tips to get the leaves. I do not have Q-tips, so I used paintbrushes. But if for the part where we're dabbing on the leaves, if you want to use Q-tips, go for it. I will be using paintbrushes today. So I have a big flat paintbrush, a medium flat paintbrush, a pointed paintbrush, and two small round paintbrushes. So that's what I'll be using today. I've got my water, I've got my canvas, I've got my paper towel, and I've got my paints with plenty on the side. So the first thing in this particular online class that we did was we created our horizon. And so you're going to start with your darkest color, which of course is going to be your black. And so I'm going to back up a little bit here first. I'm going to take my big flat brush and I'm going to dip into the black here and I'm going to go to my center, and I'm going to go down. Oh, I'm going to create just a line across the canvas. Now I'm going to add a little tiny bit of yellow to that, go a little bit above, and kind of blend that out. So I'm gonna start with my black, of course, and then as I go up, it's going to become more yellow. So this splotch right here, this little dot, isn't gonna be too much of a problem because hopefully it will all just blend out. So I'm gonna take a little bit more yellow, add a little bit more. And I'll try to make this as quick as possible. A little more yellow. See how it's it's blending upwards. We're creating a nice gradient. It's going from the black, and hopefully at the top will be a nice bright yellow. And what I might do as I get closer to the top is I might wash my brush off a little bit. So right now, oh, I'm splattering paint everywhere. So right now, we're just creating that gradient. Change my positioning here. Now is where it's starting to get nice and bright. A nice bright sunny yellow. Now we're getting all that black off the brush. So here's what it looks like so far. I want a little bit more of a gradient, so I'm gonna take a little bit more black and work it in there at the bottom and kind of spread it around up top as well. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of mix and match here, starting with the black, and then I'll go back in with that yellow and go on top of what I just did to kind of dull it down just a hair. Of course, when we get to the tree, I want my tree to be able to be seen. I'm just going to take a little bit of yellow, tiny bit, and start to kind of work that down to brighten it up just a hair. Oh, that's a little too much. There. There, and that's dulling that black down just a little bit. I'm actually going to take my water right here and clean off my brush just a tad. Get rid of all that black. Wipe it off and go right back in with that yellow. And I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. I think I'm happy with that. That looks pretty good. I'm just going to kind of get the sides a little bit. Yeah, there. Okay, I'm happy with that. So that's going to be my sky for now. And of course, there's going to be a tree on here at some point. So it's not going to be just that we're looking at with the end result. But for now, I am happy with how this turned out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a new brush, set this brush aside, I'm going to put it in my water, and I'm going to come in with my medium flat brush, and I'm going to grab some fresh yellow with no black, just pure yellow, and right underneath that black line, I'm going to come in with my yellow. I'm not going to touch the black line just yet. I'm going to go a little bit below it, and then I'm going to work my way up because I don't want them mixing together. I want that line to stay nice and sharp. So I'm going to come in just under it a little bit, grabbing as much as I need. I'm going to kind of work my way up. I'm going to kind of, as I'm going, I'm kind of getting a little bit more courage, and I'm going to work my way up there. If I had more time, I might let this part dry, the top part dry before I go in, but I'm trying to keep this video as short as I can. And so for now, I'm going to just, this entire bottom part, I'm just gonna do yellow for now. And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of a yellow black mixture and kind of create some shadows. But for now, we're just focused on just plain old yellow by itself. I apologize if I keep turning it towards myself. Like I said, we're making the best of what we have. And that's all anybody can ask. So I'm trying my best to get all those white spots. It's a little bit challenging holding it and covering up the entire canvas is a little challenging, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So while I'm doing this bottom part, hopefully it gives the top part some time to dry, so that way I can go right in with my tree. If it's not dry, if you guys are doing this at home and it's taking a little bit of time to dry, you can always hit it with a hair dryer, blow some hot air on it, and that'll certainly speed the drying process up. I personally don't have a hair dryer, believe it or not, so what I do is I use little tiny space heaters. Okay, now I've really got to get brave and get that line underneath. Wish me luck. I'm taking my time on this part. Trying to get as close as possible without overlapping. It's a little tough. But with some time and some patience, we'll get there. Okay, that's working really well. So what I'm doing now is instead of going this way, I'm turning it, I don't know if you guys can see that. So instead of going horizontally with the brush, I'm going vertically, but horizontally at the same time, if that makes sense. I hope you guys understood that because I'm not quite sure I did. My fingers are getting paint all over them. It's okay, it's for a good cause, it's for fun. For fun and for healing. Okay, so I'm pretty happy, I'm pretty happy with that. And so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to take my yellow, put a little dab right there, and I'm gonna take a tiny, tiny bit, ooh, that's a little too much, a tiny, tiny little bit of black, and I'm gonna mix it in there. And it's gonna create like a, kind of a green. And that's a little bit darker than I want it to be, so I'm gonna take more yellow. Still a little too dark. So what I'm gonna do actually is I'm gonna take a little bit of this mixture I created and just put it into my yellow right here and see what happens. Okay, yeah, that's more like it. So you guys see that? That color? I don't know how easy it is to see. It's not that pure yellow I started out with. It's kind of more of like a greeny, browny yellow. It's darker. So this yellow, maybe if I do this, you guys can see. So this yellow, you guys tell that yellow is quite a bit darker than the pure yellow that's on the bottom. So I'm gonna take this mixture right here and I'm going to add some shadows in at the bottom. I'm gonna take my mixture here and I'm gonna go back to horizontally using my paintbrush. I'm just gonna come in at the side, add a little bit of shadow right there. And I'm gonna go in with that darker mixture a little bit too, because I'm not quite happy. I want it to be a little darker. And then I'm gonna come over to this side where my tree is gonna be. Do some shadows here. Just create a little bit of dimension in my painting. So what I'm doing here, making it a little more 3D, I guess, if you will. Maybe a little bit down at the bottom. You see that, how there's a little bit more dimension to it now. Some shadows. I'm going with a little bit of a darker color here for underneath where my tree is going to be. Do a little bit more dark over here. Even it out a little bit. I don't like that dark splotch in the middle. There. I'm happy with that. Okay. So now I'm gonna start my tree. And so the one thing that Jade said when it came to trees, the one thing she kept saying was just keep making Ys and keep making Vs. So right here is where I am going to switch to my smaller, my pointy brush. Jade, she used her middle, I think it was a middle round brush, but she's a little bit more experienced than me. So I'm gonna play it safe here and use a more pointed tip. And so what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our black and I'm gonna start on the right side of the tree, so the right side of the trunk, and I'm going to start below my black line, and I'm going to kind of curve it up. So we're going to start here and just drag it on up. You see that? I'm just going to fill in where it's a little sparse. And then I'm gonna go to my left side, the left side of my tree, and I'm gonna do the same exact thing. Starting below that horizon, below that black line. And now is not the time to worry about being perfect with your lines, because of course trees are bumpy, they've got texture, they are not perfect straight lines, so now is not the time to worry. So this is what I have so far. So you guys see how I kind of have a Y going on, a Y or a V. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to worry about filling in that middle part, and then we're going to come up to the branches. So I'm just going to take more of my black and I'm just going to fill in the middle. Just like that. It's nice and easy. Nice and easy step. We don't have to worry too much about this one. I'm going to fill in a little tiny bit underneath that black line, underneath that horizon. We will eventually be making roots for our tree. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to focus on the branches before we worry about the roots. So I'm just going to tilt it my way just for a minute, so that way I can make sure I've got everything filled in nice and well. Okay, so here's what I've got so far. Now we're going to branch off, and like I said, we're just going to worry about making Y's and V's. And so let's start with this branch right here. So I'm going to, right here, I'm going to create a branch going off this way. I'm going to make a Y. Grab a little bit more paint. You guys see that? I could probably tilt it a little bit more towards you. And again, we're not worried about being perfect because trees are not perfect. Trees are kind of like humans. We're not perfect in any means. By any means, I should say. And the nice thing about this particular project, if you've got some weird looking branches that you really don't like, or weird looking like twigs that you don't like, you can cover them with the leaves, kind of hide them. I'm gonna paint that in. So see how I've got a Y going on at the end there? I'm gonna color that in. And then from there, I'm just gonna make more Y's. Grab a little bit of paint. Here's one Y. So I have a really tiny canvas right now, as you guys can see. Of course, use whatever you have. If you've got big canvases, cool. If you've got little canvases, cool. If you're using paper, awesome. If you're using cardboard, that's great. Just get creative and use whatever you have. Make it work for you and your particular style. Now I'm gonna make a branch coming off this way. This one's gonna be a big one, I think. I'm gonna fill this guy in first. This branch is gonna come off the page, off the canvas. Which is nice, it makes my job a little easier. A little less Y's and V's to make. So I'm going to fill that in. And of course, I'm going to come right in with some Y's and V's. So for the purpose of this demonstration, trying to keep it as short as possible, I'm going to stop here. But you guys can add as many branches and as many twigs and as many Y's and V's as you want. I think the more the merrier. So this one I didn't add very much, but my first two that I did, I went a little crazy with them. And I really like how it turned out with more branches and more twigs. But for this one, we're going to keep it simple. It's going to be kind of a bare tree, if you will. So I'm going to stop here, and now I'm going to go down and I'm going to do the roots. And the roots, you're going to kind of do something similar. You are just going to, this one's more of a V, I guess. You're going to come off, just like real tree roots. They kind of go off to the side. You're going to connect them to the tree, of course. I'm going to do a couple here. It's looking a little funky, but The nice thing about this project is if you don't like the roots, just like if you don't like your branches, you can hide them with leaves, which I am definitely going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop there because I already know I'm going to cover the ground in leaves anyways. So that's what my roots look like. If I was really taking my time, I'd probably make them a little bit more thick at the top and bring them out a little bit more, but for the purpose of this exercise, I am just going to keep going. But you guys make sure to take as long as you need, add any details that you want. This is your creation, your project. There's no right or wrong way how to do it, but this is just how I'm doing it right now. So now I've actually got a little bit of brown, and so in this painting, I used gray to kind of create some texture on the tree, but again, I'm a little limited on white, and this is a different color scheme. I'm going to use some browns, some light brown and some dark brown to create some texture and some gradient. So let me just get a little bit of brown here on my paper plate, and then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to make little kind of not straight, that's really the only way I could think to describe it, not straight lines, kind of squiggly, I guess, on top of my tree, different colors. So I'm going to go in with a light color first, and I'm just going to see how that looks. I might mix it with the black if I don't like it. So I did my light brown, now I'm going to come in with my dark brown. I might go over top of okay, yeah, I'm going to actually go right over top of it and blend that out. See how, I don't know if you guys can tell, it kind of creates some texture there, kind of makes it look a little more 3D. I'm going to do the same into the branches. So I'm going to start off with that light. I'm just going to do one line, and then I'm going to take that darker brown and I'm going to go over top of it. It just gives it a little bit of dimension. It's not such a flat Stanley tree anymore. You guys see that? Okay, so here comes the fun part. So if I had a little bit more time, I would let this dry a little bit, but I am going to start going in with my leaves. And so I'm going to take my 2 round brushes. This is the part where she used the Q-tips, Jade did, and what she did is she took a bundle of Q-tips and she started out with her light pink. She started out with a light pink and she mixed a little bit of white with it, and she just took a bundle of Q-tips and would dab. And then she went in with her darker pink or red and dabbed. But we're going to do, I want to see what it looks like with some green. So I've got my green here. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a yellowy green too. So I'm going to take my yellow here and I'm going to mix in some of my green with it. So that's going to be kind of like our white and pink. But if you are doing this kind of color scheme, you won't be using the green. You'll be using the white and the pink. You can use whatever color you want. You can use purple, brown, whatever color you want. Get creative, make this your own, have fun with it, guys. So I'm going to start out with, see how I made kind of like a limey green right here? I'm going to start out with this one, and I am just going to, right where the branches are, I'm just going to dab. See how it's looking so far? Just dabbing that light green on. And you can make this, you can give your tree as many or as few leaves as you want. Again, this is your project, guys. You have complete creative freedom here. My tree's looking pretty bare, so I'm gonna give it a little bit more because I personally like the aesthetic of a nice full tree, if that makes sense. So that's what it's looking like so far. I'm gonna go in with that darker green now. Actually, I'm gonna use that other brush. I'm gonna go in with my other round brush, my clean one. And it's gonna give it some dimension. Make it look a little more full, I think. As we know, leaves are not all the same. They're all different colors, different sizes. Do a little bit more right there. I'm gonna add some leaves. Go back in with my light green, and I'm gonna add some leaves down here as well. Make this a little more full. Back in with my dark green. So that's what it's looking like so far. Now I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna cover up these roots. And so I'm gonna start with my light green again. And I'm just gonna go right over top of them. And again, if you guys have Q-tips and want to use Q-tips instead of your brush for the leaves, go right ahead. Use whatever you have access to. Now I'm going to go in with my dark green. I'm going to come over more to the left. Because again, a lot of the tree is off to the left. And there's part of the tree that we can't see. So there it is, guys. There is the end result. Super quick, super fun. Definitely for me, something that helps me to relax, helps take my mind off of everything that's going on, helps me to refocus. Here it is. I hope that you guys enjoy. If you get a chance, please, 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 if you did do this activity, take some pictures, send them my way. I would love to see what you guys came up with. So until next time, bye guys.